Every cycle, admissions offices are hit with an avalanche of paper. Most applicants approach this process with a very straightforward assumption: secure a high GPA, hit your target LSAT score, and your admission is essentially guaranteed. The math tells a different story. For every seat available, there are thousands of competing applicants with those exact identical numbers sitting on their resumes. If you are building your application list based on US news rankings, a gut feeling about prestige, or advice scraped from Reddit forums, you are entering the cycle at a severe disadvantage. When thousands of applicants share your exact scores, those numbers stop being a differentiator. Without a specific strategy, a high GPA simply places you in a massive pool of identical candidates, making blind applications a high-risk gamble. Modern law schools don't operate like traditional academic gatekeepers anymore. They function much closer to data-driven hedge funds, relying heavily on institutional predictive analytics. Look at this quadrant chart mapping the playing field. On the x-axis, we have data utilization, and on the y-axis, predictability of outcomes. The traditional applicant sits down here in the bottom left. They are operating with very low data utilization, which naturally leads to highly unpredictable results. Admissions committees, however, sit up in the top right. They are aggressively utilizing massive historical data models to guarantee highly predictable outcomes for their cohorts. Committees use these models to engineer specific institutional outcomes, protecting their U.S. news rankings, securing high bar passage rates, and driving post-graduation employment numbers. This structural data asymmetry is why AI-powered intelligence platforms like JurisBeacon exist, to give the applicant access to the same level of analytical firepower. The dilemma you face is simple. Do you continue applying in the dark, or do you start matching the university's algorithms with your own strategy to drive better acceptances and take on less debt? Upgrading your strategy requires an immediate trade-off. You have to completely overhaul how you build your target school list. AI predictive modeling ignores brand prestige. It selects schools based strictly on historical admissions patterns and the statistical likelihood of your acceptance. This comparison matrix shows exactly how the approaches diverge across your selection, scholarships, and positioning. Instead of guessing, the AI flags specific safety and target schools where your exact statistical profile historically fills an institutional gap they need to close. Doing this effectively often means abandoning the emotional pursuit of a dream school in favor of targeting highly ranked regional programs where your numbers hold the most weight. You're sacrificing the allure of brand prestige for statistical probability. That is the baseline requirement of an algorithmic application strategy. This approach becomes even more critical when we look at finances. Universities actively practice something called buying medians to artificially boost their rankings. This bar chart visualizes this. Notice the target median LSAT score and how financial aid dollars heavily cluster right above that line. Endowments secure exact profiles. By mapping these allocations, AI targets schools where your numbers sit right above the median. The direct result is that you maximize your leverage for scholarship offers and minimize the amount of heavy student loans you'll need to take on. But weighing these options forces a very delicate balance. It requires a complex calculation of return on investment. You have to decide if a full-ride scholarship at a solid lower-tier school makes more sense for your career than paying full sticker price at a highly ranked institution. Stripping the emotion out and treating law school debt as a pragmatic mathematical calculation is where you find your leverage. This data-first approach also extends to the qualitative parts of your application, specifically your personal statement and addendums. Algorithmic tools audit your written materials by directly matching your phrasing and experiences against traits proven to yield successful outcomes in past cycles. Institutional data heavily links specific soft skills and background traits to their eventual bar passage and employment rates. They know what kind of candidate succeeds in their building. Look at these essays side by side. The standard approach relies on flowing narrative, while the engineered version is highly structured, highlighting verifiable data points. The trade-off here is stark. Your writing process moves away from creative, outside-the-box storytelling and becomes a highly clinical, optimized messaging exercise. You often have to abandon a highly unique personal narrative because it doesn't align with the specific indicators the university's analytics are scanning for. Trading creative expression for an engineered narrative ensures that your profile fits precisely into the university's predictive models. Having access to better information ultimately forces a decision. You have to evaluate how you want to apply based on your specific constraints. This flowchart maps your routing. If you're an optimizer prioritizing minimal debt, AI pinpoints financial matches. If you're a splitter with uneven stats, targeted data finds forgiving programs. But if you're a prestige traditionalist aiming for elite institutions regardless of cost, proceed with caution. At the very highest tier, the algorithmic advantage shrinks. The numbers are almost universally perfect, meaning those candidates still have to rely heavily on a highly unique human narrative to stand out. The utility of AI admissions intelligence is directly proportional to how willing you are to prioritize statistical success over your emotional preferences. Universities are aggressively using data to engineer their student bodies down to the exact percentage point. Relying on an intelligence platform like JurisBeacon is the most effective method you have to reverse engineer those institutional goals and turn them to your advantage. This is a choice that dictates your long-term financial and professional future. It's time to stop guessing. You finally have the ability to completely level the playing field before you ever submit a single document. Applying with a mathematical strategy allows you to meet these institutions on their own terms, turning an unpredictable process into a calculated professional decision.